What happens when you fuse K-pop idols, music performances, and fantasy together? Well, that's how you end up with a game by the name of Tokyo Mirage Sessions. Originally released on the Wii U back in June of 2016 and then ported to the Nintendo Switch in January of 2020, comes Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE, a JRPG from none other than the developer Atlus. You know, the same developer that made Persona, Shin Megami Tensei, Metaphor, basically any long-ass RPG. But that is not what is important here. It is the fact that this game was a JRPG for the freaking Wii U, which had like a total of 3, counting this game of course. Like your typical gamer, I picked this up for the Switch literally 3 years ago and just now got around to playing it. If I knew it was like one of 3 JRPGs made specifically for the Wii U at the time, then I would have been on it like flies to a big pile. So with that being said, I want you to join me as I share my thoughts about this game to answer the most important question of all. Was Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE good? To properly answer that question, I will be assessing the gameplay, the story, and its overall replayability, so let's begin. And I would also like to mention that this game is voiced in Japanese, but it does have English subtitles because I damn sure can't read Japanese. Starting with the gameplay, your time is spent in between bustling city districts all throughout Tokyo and the infamous Fortuna office, which serves as the main hub for all things Mirage and Performer related. When you aren't running into the He-Ho Mart for a donut, your time is usually spent dungeon crawling through various Idola spheres or portals located around the town that only your squad is capable of seeing, hence the word Tokyo in the game's title. Popping into one of these is where you can go Mirage mode and start the combat side of the gameplay with a good old swing. Mirages, by the way, are your partners or summons that are used to fight the bad ones you come across. All of them run off Performa, or in other words, creative energy, hence the word Mirage in the game's title. With combat started though, this is where you get some of that turn-based action. With 3 characters on the field and usually 2 to 4 monsters, you take turns whomping on each other until either you win or you get a game over. In terms of difficulty, even on normal, some of these fights can get spicy. As odd as it sounds, I did find it refreshing to experience the game over screen multiple times throughout my playthrough. That just means the challenge was just right. As you progress through the story, combat begins to expand with sessions or chain attacks once you hit an enemy's weakness. While this mechanic is the bread and butter of the game, I will say that by the final chapter, it is complete and utter lunacy that you cannot skip them. Let me stop talking about it, let me go ahead and just show you one for example, rather than tell you.
Mirage attack, 準備完了だ。セッション、いける。絶好の機会だよ。俺から行く。頼んだ。次だ。いいわね。あとはよろしくね。おりゃ。信じてるぜ。任せて。ちくちゃん、お安いご用だよ。よろしくね。グッ。やったわ。合わせられるな。誰に言ってるの？愚問だったな。そういうことね。終わりよ。俺から行く。丁寧にな。私も。翼、絶対決めるね。一気に行きましょう。いいわね。気合い入れなさい。おりゃ。信じてるぜ。せーの。まだいけるかい？誰に聞いてんのよ。
Now, imagine seeing that in every fight going forward without a way to skip through it. Like I said, it's cool for the first 3 chapters or so, and then it's like, okay game, I get your point. Outside of combat, there are side stories that once completed provide your characters with abilities that proc randomly during battle. And last but not least is the ever-changing equipment you will cycle through with each character in order to learn different skills that can be upgraded. These skills are naturally divided into active and passive categories. I was thoroughly surprised by the quantity of these, as Itsuki alone gets up to 25 different sorts. These are all loaded with their own skills in which you can dictate what stays and what goes. Overall, the combat in this game is satisfactory. At moments, it can be very challenging if you are underleveled, but after grinding any extra in-game dungeons, you can quickly fix that deficiency. One personal gripe of mine was the random hard-as-hell encounters, also known as savage encounters, that if you don't run from, congratulations, you've played yourself. These monsters are purposely at a higher level than you and are meant to serve as a challenge. This can be quite frustrating if you don't have a smoke machine or didn't save just before it happened. But other than that, it does work and some thought is shown as your characters continue to progress. I just wish the sessions could have been toggled off completely. Moving on to the story, which is divided into roughly 8 parts if you count the prologue, it has its ups and its downs. Like any JRPG, it is a rough start, especially when it's focused on the lack of energy needed to put on the best performance of your life. I'll be honest here, not like I haven't been this entire time. This type of RPG setup is totally out of my wheelhouse. I'm used to world-ending dramas, not feeling uninspired for the next sold-out concert performances or commercial. While this isn't a bad thing, I did find it harder for me to invest in what was going on when it's all about these 18-year-olds who think they need new sources of inspiration just to make it through the day. The good news is that there is an overarching story hidden beneath the fluff, but it ramps up a bit too late in my opinion. It wasn't until the last third of the game, or chapter 5 specifically, that the plot started to come together. If you are a story-driven person, then this may be hard to get into. While it is not terrible, it was the combat and its progression that kept me locked in. When it comes to the Fire Emblem part of the title, you will see its influence sprinkled throughout the game. There are some Easter eggs here and there, costumes, literal mirages, and some lore tied into the plot as well. I just wanted to bring that up real quick as it does connect with the story, albeit on the very back end. By now, you should have also noticed how banging the music is in this game. I'm telling you, it has some sleeper tracks for sure. And I apologize for the lack of voice acting review in this one. As far as I can tell, there's only Japanese audio with English text. This is something I personally don't mind, as that is how I consume like 95% of my anime, but it may be a deal breaker for others out there. Either way, the cast does a great job, so I will at least throw up a couple of my favorites on the screen right now. Finally, let's talk about its overall replayability. In terms of length, I clocked in nearly 45 hours in my first playthrough. This time also includes side stories and some side quests, but not all of them. Speaking of side quests in this game, I found them to be terrible and honestly not worth the rewards. All of them just consisted of fetch quests, but I'm sure that they were easier to track on the Wii U. Another thing to note is that you cannot skip cutscenes in this game, but you can fast forward through everything, which is better than nothing. So if you feel like playing the game again, but in New Game Plus, at the very least you can skip through the chatter. In terms of extra content, I have already mentioned the side stories and side quests. Outside of that, there are extra dungeons split into the EX one for costumes, one for farming experience, one for farming weapon mastery, and the Savage Encounter ones. The real purpose of the Savage Encounters is getting special drops that can be used to get stat increase incense for your team. This is 100% optional though, so do not feel like you have to do this in order to beat the game, cause I damn sure didn't. Luckily, the game provides intermissions between each chapter, which is perfect for doing extra bits of content without having it get in the way of the main attraction. So I do appreciate that little break. But with all of that being said here, it is time to answer the most important question of all. Was Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE good? Yeah, I would say so. It is an incredible JRPG that I am glad made it off the Wii U and at least onto the Nintendo Switch. Gameplay wise, it starts off slow, but slowly ramps up, and by chapter 4, you were throwing down at the playground with 10 plus chain attacks, no problem. Customization is fine, though menu heavy, especially as your cast grows, so just be prepared for that. Story-wise, the plot is focused around the youths and their struggles as models and entertainers. As stated previously, the real plot of it only comes in once you are maybe 30 hours into the game, which isn't great in my opinion, but I am a JRPG masochist at this point. And when it comes to replayability, well, I just talked about that, so no further details needed. Personally speaking, I do enjoy one-off games like these from the large developers, as even though they aren't perfect, they tend to scratch that itch for something new, but low in investment.
欲しくない君まっすぐさぼんぎみ好きよさまぎ私にない輝き